So, let's get into it. Picture this. You've unplugged every single gadget, you've checked every last cable, but that annoying crackle on your radio just won't quit. Your Wi-Fi is still acting up. It's maddening, right? Well, what if the problem, the source of all that frustration, isn't even coming from inside your house? Today, we're taking this investigation outside.
And just so you know, for those of you who have been following along with us, this is part 7 of our 10-part tutorial. We're basing this whole explainer on a really comprehensive report all about the common sources of radio frequency interference in the home. It's from the pros over at RFI Detectives, which is a part of Virtualization Options LLC. And today we're digging into Chapter 7, all about the noise that comes from outside your walls.
So this is the central mystery we're tackling. You've done everything right. You've hunted down all the usual suspects, the noisy chargers, the buzzing lights, everything inside your own 4 walls. And yet, that electronic ghost is still hanging around. This is that moment where you just have to stop and ask the big question. What if the call is coming from outside the house?
That's exactly what we're going to do. We're heading outdoors. I want you to think of your whole neighborhood as a brand new crime scene for this radio interference. The culprits out here look a little different, but believe me, they can be just as disruptive. So let's get on the case and see what we can find.
Okay, our first and probably most common suspect is literally right next door, your neighbors. Now, this isn't about pointing fingers or anything. It really just comes down to physics. See, those pesky radio waves that cause all this interference, they don't care about your fence or your property line. They sail right on through the walls.
So what are we talking about here? Well, as you can see, it's often the same stuff you'd look for in your own place. Things like cheap, poor quality phone chargers, certain types of LED lights, or even just some noisy appliances. The big difference is their interference is strong enough to escape their house and mess with your electronics. This happens a lot with cheaper gadgets that just don't have the right internal shielding to keep their own electronic noise to themselves.
All right, let's widen the search. We're moving on to our second suspect. Now we're looking at the public fixtures out on your street. You know, the things you walk past every single day without even giving them a second thought. But it turns out, some of them can be huge sources of RFI.
And here's a prime example. Streetlights, especially the older ones. They have these internal parts, they're called ballasts, that basically manage their power. Well, as those ballasts get old and start to fail, they can get incredibly noisy in an electronic sense. And it's not just the old ones. Even some of the newer LED streetlights can cause a racket if their internal electronics go bad.
So how do you know for sure if a street light is your culprit? Well, there's a huge clue right here. It's all about the timing. Does the interference kick in right around sunset, just as the streetlights flicker on? And does it magically vanish at dawn when they shut off? If the noise is perfectly synced up with that schedule, you've probably found your source.
Okay, now for our third and final category of suspects. These are the sneaky ones, the ones you might never ever guess. They're often hiding in plain sight, just quietly doing their thing, and creating a surprising amount of electronic chaos in the process. Let's unmask some of these unlikely culprits.
First on the list, security cameras. Now, they're great for peace of mind, but some of the cheaper wireless models can be real chatterboxes, electronically speaking. They can generate a lot of RFI on certain radio frequencies, and the source report actually points out that some have been known to cause trouble in that 20 to 22 megahertz range.
And you're going to love this one, electronic insect repellers. You know, those little gadgets you plug in that claim to drive bugs away with some kind of signal? The problem is, if they aren't designed well, those signals can be completely unfiltered and broadcast right in the middle of radio communication bands, messing with your radios or even your cordless phones. Okay, so we've identified our main suspects, both the obvious and the not so obvious. Now we get to the most important part. What can you actually do about it? Well, the good news is the solutions are often way simpler than you'd think.
Your action plan is actually pretty straightforward. If you're pretty sure the noise is coming from a neighbor, the absolute best first step is just a polite, friendly conversation. Chances are they have no idea their gadget is causing a problem. And for those public issues like a buzzing streetlight, the fix is just as direct. Report it. Call your local utility company or public works department. After all, it's their job to maintain that equipment. And that really brings us to a final thought to chew on. As our world gets packed with more and more electronics, our radio neighborhoods are getting seriously crowded. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? When you think about all the chargers and lights and security cameras and, well, everything, who on your block is the quietest neighbor and who might be the noisiest, electronically speaking? It's a totally new way to think about the invisible world all around us.